Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever Creative Bites. I'm really excited. Today I have Matt Simpson, owner of the Letter Arty,
Hi.
the mastermind behind the Choose Cards. So I obviously did buy a Choose Cards t-shirt, and I've now purchased a jumper. So I'm very committed. Actually, I've
You
got
bought
two.
two choose
I
t-shirts.
have got two
You
Choose
have?
Cards.
Yeah, proper fan.
I'm
Brilliant.
a proper fan. So, but if you haven't got it, again, I repeat, they're still available. Just even. Um, so the whole premise of the whole Creative Bites, I came up with the idea because I just realized I've got quite a few industry friends. When you've been in the industry for over a decade, you kind of get to know a few people. So I wanted to do, I love a webinar, as I think most people know. I just wanted to do something that I thought would be a bit fun, get an excuse to kind of hang out with my industry friends, and hopefully you'll kind of learn something from this session.
No
Um,
promises on today's.
so my guest, as I've mentioned already, is Matt. So Matt, we've kind of, our paths have kind of crossed in the past. We've kind of,
Yeah.
like I said, known each other. I bought a t-shirt. And then I think the sort of changing, the sort of sliding doors moment for us was
Yeah.
when you took part in the Greetings Lab DENI webinar, and you
Yes. Yeah.
actually asked quite a few intelligent questions.
First time for everything. Yeah.
So it kind of like I sort of took more notice of you then. And then when I decided to when I came up with the concept of Cards for All, which is a not-for-profit championing D&I in our industry, and I had to sort of put together a committee, you came to mind. So that was brilliant. So we sit together on the Cards for All committee together. So that we kind of work closely, and that's been really great. And I've
Yeah.
really
Yeah, it
enjoyed
has.
getting to know
Yep.
you better.
Yep.
And so, yeah, so that's obviously how we kind of connected, how we kind of know each other, how we continue our greeting card journey together.
Yep.
So, yeah, well, I'm just going to hand over to you, Matt, so you can share with
Okay.
us your journey, what it's like being a retailer in the run up to Christmas,
Sure.
how you navigate choosing cards, how decide what to stock,
Sure.
and, why you're passionate about cards in general.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my sort of greeting card industry journey, if you like, started it's probably about 10 years or so ago, actually, when I attempted being a card designer slash publisher myself with a little project I called Northern Letters, which I've always had an interest in typography. And I recently moved up to Manchester, and there was anyone that knows Manchester, the Northern Quarter is full of independent little businesses which all have their own distinct identities. So I wondered if I could put together an alphabet using all the various different signage from bars, restaurants, shops, that sort of thing. So I managed to find a number of letters, sort of photographed them, reproduced them in Illustrator, and then created cards using those alphabets. I've actually got a few here. I just happen to have them. So this was my Northern birthday one. So as you can see, they're kind of just the colours that I found the letters in. It's kind of like, I'd say, like a ransom note aesthetic. So there was a few of those, and I sort of got festive at Christmas as well with a nice bit of white ink on those and some craft paper. So I did a couple of shows. I did Home and Gift a couple of years running, and also did some makers markets selling direct. And I got like a handful of small stockists and stuff, but I had a very small range. I think even including Christmas, it was no more than like 30 or 40, which many of you will probably know isn't a lot really. And certainly when it comes to wholesaling and stockists, it's not like a great deal there for them to sort of pick out and then reorder. But along the way, I'd say I failed at it, but it didn't really take off. So along the way, I'd met other people who had sort of similar styles and interests in terms of typography, illustration, that sort of thing. So I thought, well, why don't I sell other people's, like showcase other people's cards and stuff? So that's where the Letter Arty came from. And originally, the idea was to do it as like a marketplace site, hence being part of the Letter Arty. But then having been stocked like sale or return and various things, which is a bit annoying as a supplier or designer, I decided that actually I'd do it as a conventional retail sort of website and actually buy the stock to sell, because like if you actually believe in the stuff, then not that there's anything wrong with marketplace sites, obviously they have their place, but for me I felt, if I wanted to champion these designers and makers and publishers, then I do it that way. So I started the site about 2019 with just my own cards and bus blinds, which is like these things, which I'd sort of acquired a number of them, and they sort of sold really well. So I framed those up again for my interest in typography. And over time, I added, suppliers and publishers. So the first one was Rice School Cards. David was my first. I think the first top drawer I went to was the first one he exhibited at. And I'd sort of been pointed in his direction by Sarah Holmes, pencil me in, who actually was one of the handful of stockists I had when she opened her original shop, which is actually down here in Salford. She actually took a few of my cards very kindly. I guess it was Christmas, charitable. I sort of went to top drawer, and she sort of pointed me in his direction. And yeah, so it was David, and then Katie Lehman was second. Also sort of following that sort of like Kinship and Zoe Spry, and then that led on to other illustrators and stuff. So there was sort of like a typography kind of bent, if you like, originally, but then that led me to hand lettering, illustration, and essentially it's just cards that I like. Is kind of the criteria. Good quality, well produced cards, really. So that's kind of how it came about. The actual physical shop I've only had for 2 years. I think it's 2 years. I'm not very good at these things, so I don't know the exact date, but it's around about now that I opened the shop. Because I moved from I was operating out of an office in the Northern Quarter here in Manchester, which is very expensive, needed somewhere less expensive. And yeah, stumbled across, well, I'd been to Pollard Yard before, where my shipping container is, and they had one sort of free, and it was considerably less than what I was paying for just an office. So I was like, well, this will be nice because I could actually, have it sort of as a sort of showroom come shop type thing, and open when I wasn't doing my other job, which we may mention later. But yeah, so it was kind of like a cost saving exercise. And as a bonus, I had a shop. So yeah, so I sort of got the keys, and then in about, I think it was like 9 days from getting the keys to opening, just lots of painting, bit of DIY, putting up some partitions and shelves and various bits and bobs. And that's how the shop came about, really. So yeah, what else do you want to know? I
Well,
guess.
okay, so okay, that's interesting. And actually the first time I've seen any of your designs, which is
Oh,
really
okay.
interesting as well.
To be fair, it's probably the first time anyone's seen any of my designs. No one really saw them at the time. But there you go.
So what was it like? So what's obviously Christmas is coming up. Shoes,
Yes.
cards, t-shirts,
Oh,
jumpers.
yes. I've got one of those too. Yes.
So what is it like being a retailer, like coming up to Christmas?
It's it's exciting, and it's quite daunting, and you have to be kind of quite organized. I've sort of over the years learned a bit more about sort of timings of orders, and I'm definitely, like I say, I've only had the shop for a couple of years, and I've been sort of online for like six. So I don't consider myself to be an expert, but one thing I have learned, it's all about planning, managing when you're getting your orders in. And I find some suppliers actually will do quite good. They'll launch their Christmas stuff usually, sometimes as early as spring, but many of the sort of smaller ones I just more like summer onwards. And often if they, once they launch their stuff on pre-order, they might do like little discounts and stuff, which is to encourage you to to get it ordered early, which I find is quite useful actually, because then you're sort of staggering the orders, so you're not getting them all in at one thing I'm really bad at actually is planning in terms of cash flow and stuff. So like I'll go to say a show and place loads of orders, and then realize that I'll then have to pay for all those orders at the same time 30 days later. So I've got better at sort of staggering these things. So that was one thing I learned about Christmas, is sort of, it's also difficult to judge. I've obviously had a few Christmases now, so I know what, the sort of popular things that sell, the kind of styles and stuff that sell well for me. But obviously people bring out new stuff, and obviously you don't want to just trot out exactly the same range every Christmas. So it's getting that new stuff, but obviously that's a bit of a gamble because you haven't sold those particular designs before, so you don't know how well, but you've sold stuff by that supplier before, so they'll do well, but it's kind of judging how many to get. And it's the tricky thing is, it's as we get closer to Christmas, sales sort of ramp up. They started, sort of. I mean, people buy cards from about September, Christmas cards. You get one or two, and then it sort of starts to ramp up through October up towards the end, and it's sort of starting, hopefully, to get even busier now. But it's when something's selling really well, you're like, oh, if I run out of this, I need to get some more. I need to get some more. But the closer you get, the more, not pointless it is, but less advisable to get more orders. So I sort of set myself like a deadline of when, right, I'm not ordering any more or reordering any more Christmas after this time. And if I sell out, I sell out, which is actually a lovely thing, because I have obviously quite a range and a lot of similar kind of styles of stuff from the same supplier. I figure that if you want to buy one card and it's out of stock, there'll be another card that you'll get, that you'll like, hopefully. So it's not like if the one design you were after isn't there, you're not going to buy anything. That's what I sort of figure anyway. And although obviously with Christmas cards, I can resell them next year. I'd rather not be left with many to sit on the shelf because that's effectively like cash sat on the shelf, which isn't a great place for cash to be. But at least with Christmas cards, you can sell them the next year. One thing that is slightly trickier is dated items such as calendars and diaries, which I only started selling for the first time last year. No, I think I'd done diaries for a few years, calendars for a few years, but diaries was the first one last year. And because they're probably the closest thing to perishable goods that I sell, because they don't, I mean, people will buy them in sort of January, February, but and a bit beyond that. But ideally, you want them all gone before the year starts. So that's a bit more of a gamble and a bit. Last year, I I got in because the diaries were selling well, and it was the first time I'd sold them. I like got a load more in and did actually sell most of them, but was left with, if I hadn't done that reorder, I probably would have sold out completely. But I had a handful, left. I think I had one myself and gave a couple to friends, but yeah, so that's the difficult thing, is judging, not balancing not running out of stock versus having enough, or not ordering it too late and being left with lots of stock. So that's probably the hardest thing about Christmas.
Okay, so with your like everyday stock, your
Mm.
everyday kind of occasions, are you buying all year round for that? Are you kind of more doing it at trade shows
I
or
mean, I do
through?
love a trade show, as you know. I
Yeah.
try to get to as many as I can, but I'm not very good at saying no. So as some people will know, they get me on there. I go, what? Well, I'll reorder these and these. Oh, what about? Oh, yeah, that's nice. Give me some of those. But yeah, so it's learning that balance. I mean, so those will be, and probably January will be at top drawer, but I know for a fact that a few of my suppliers are bringing out new stuff that I've seen little peaks of, and very exciting things. So I want to get some of that, but I'm trying to, yeah, be a bit more restrained. But yeah, sort of year out, I kind of like, obviously there's the peak, like I mentioned about Christmas ordering, but other stuff you've got like the spring occasions. Obviously got Valentine's, Mother's Day, Father's Day. I'd like to think that certainly Valentine's Day, I'd want to have it all ordered before Christmas. Hopefully that probably won't happen because I'll forget. But no, that's kind of generally, because once Christmas is out the way, get into the new year, a little bit of a pause, but then it's Valentine's and stuff. So there'll be that, and then I'll be looking to, the spring is often like lumped together. So, Valentine's, Mother's Day, Father's Day, even though Father's Day sort of goes into June or whatever, try and get as much, like I say, ahead as possible, or sort of stagger it. So, what you've got, and then I can plan, what I'm going to promote in advance, or how I'm going to approach the various occasions. But yeah, otherwise it's just a case of keeping, best-selling ones topped up, and then yeah, taking on a few new ones, but not too many. Sometimes I might just take a few of, like, a few new designs, see which ones then work, obviously, and then sort of just carry on with those ones. And once the ones that don't sell so quickly or as well, kind of once I've run out of those, I sort of won't reorder those necessarily. But yeah, it is a difficult thing, because I think the hardest thing is not taking on too many new suppliers, because there's so much, as so much fantastic work out there, that it's very, easy to go, all right, I must have something from them, and that, that kind of thing. And particularly at shows where, I'll set myself and say, well, perhaps I'll take one or two new ones, and then end up coming away with six or seven, because, I'll go, well, I've got a lot. Well, we've not got a minimum. Oh, great. Well, I'll have those then. And I mean, usually they do sell. And because I sort of got to know what sells and what doesn't. So I like to think I pick quite well, so I never have any that don't sell at all, but some are slower than others. And particularly with the online, which is actually the larger proportion of my business, is still online. So the it's kind of, you don't want to have to wade through like page after page of stuff. So it's trying to keep enough of a range that there's variety and there's, people can find something that they like, but without having to sort of, like I say, like a whole forest full of, things that you have to like wade through page after page. Although I do obviously try and categorize stuff. So like by theme or like, animal cards, cat cards, food and drink cards, so if people know they've got, you can sort of refine it that way. But yeah, it is sort of, I think showing restraint when buying is probably one of my skills I need to work on as a business person and retailer.
Yeah, that's a good skill to kind of, yeah, master, I'd
Yes,
say.
I've heard, apparently.
So you were Henry's judge this year, weren't you?
Yes, I was involved in an online one and I actually
Oh, no,
couldn't
nice.
make the in-person one, which I was gutted about. But yes, it was quite interesting to see the range of, some really good stuff. And yeah, it's interesting because I know what I like and I buy what I like, and there's lots of cards that I probably never buy. And obviously within the Henrys, you have like a broad range of stuff. So yeah, it's interesting to see what was around, that I hadn't maybe wasn't aware of and stuff. But yeah, some really strong categories. And yeah, nice to see quite a lot of people who I stock in there, certainly in the long list and even shortlisted and, in the final. So that was, excuse me, that was nice to see. Yeah,
Did
but
you, so did you end up voting for your own people or did you
no,
like try and
maybe,
vote?
possibly, if they were the best in that. Although there were a number of categories where there were, a number of people that I stocked in that category. So yeah, it was tricky. I mean, there were some that I hadn't sort of seen before, and some, if there were categories, because there's like a minimum number of categories you have to vote in, but you don't have to vote in all of them. So if there were some categories where I wasn't really sure or nothing really stood out, I thought, it's like that old thing that, the mums say, if like if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. So there are certain categories I didn't vote in because there wasn't anything in particular that kind of leapt out at me, even though they were great and from some really great suppliers, some of the large suppliers and stuff. Which is I tend to keep it quite small in terms of who I order from, which is partly because it's partly a conscious choice because I like to have stuff that not everyone's going to have. And also a consideration with selling online is you're competing against, in the shop, you're competing against, your high street or other local shops, whereas online you're competing against potentially everyone, particularly with like Google Shopping ads, that kind of thing. So actually, if you've got a card that's a really good card, but like 12 other people online are selling it as well, you're sort of, it's harder to kind of stand out. So it's difficult to compete. So that's one of the reasons that I like to keep, and also like newer ones and, people that are just starting out. It's nice to have, I say from supporting them, but also sort of selfishly to have stuff that, nobody else has. I mean, you sometimes get, obviously I get like approaches via email in the post and that kind of thing with from suppliers saying we'd love to see our cards in your shop. And sometimes you get them go, oh, we're in sort of Scribbler, we're in here, we're on there, and we're here, that kind of thing. And sometimes it doesn't put me off, but it's like that doesn't really, bother me if you're not in Waterstones yet. In fact, to me, sometimes that's quite a good thing because a comment I often get people that do come to the shop, both of them, is that there's cards there they haven't seen anywhere else, which I think is a nice thing to have. So yeah, I've forgotten where we were going with that, but yeah. So
All right. What are your thoughts on Fair? Do you shop on via Fair?
I
Do you
do
have a
use
plan?
Fair. I do use a mix of Fair and buying direct from suppliers. Quite a lot of people now have really good wholesale sites of their own, which is a really great way to kind of, keep track of what you've ordered. Be able to go back and also just be able to sort of browse and put together an order at any time of day or night really when you've got a spare moment to kind of go, oh, I know I need to get a top up, or I've seen they've got some new stuff, let's have a browse. And you can sort of put an order together and it tops it up obviously in your basket, and it's quite useful for that. Fair's quite good in that you get sort of the 60-day terms kind of automatically, which can be quite nice. But again, in my sort of ability to order lots of things all at once, I'll kind of like, you get like a limit, a bit like any credit thing really, get like a limit, you sort of fill that up. And then once you start paying off the other, you then sort of get it back up. So I'd sort of, yeah, do that, put loads of orders on Fair and then go, oh, right, okay, now I'll wait until I've paid those and then get another. So I like to, have a mix, like I say, of buying off Fair. And I think it is good. I have discovered, a few people on Fair, but then I've usually tried to see if I can find them on Instagram and stuff and maybe have a conversation on there, first, and you find out is Fair their preferred way, or get their, because everyone has like a direct link to Fair, as you know, so where they don't pay all that commission. So yeah, I do like to, have a bit of a balance. One of the best things from me, as a retailer with Fair is its integration with Shopify, and I believe other platforms. So if I place an order on Fair, I can sort of, if it's existing products on my site, I'll just kind of link them up and go, this is obviously this product. If they're new ones, it will like port all the information across, which I then rewrite the descriptions, not using AI, incidentally, and rewrite the descriptions. Might have to reformat some of the pictures, that kind of thing. But they're sort of automatically in there, so it saves all that kind of palaver. And then as soon as obviously the delivery is tracked through Fair, so as soon as it's delivered, your stock gets updated on your website. So it's great, really. Obviously, you do then need to just double check the deliveries just in case there's any errors. But yeah, it sort of automates that process. So as soon as something's you know arrived, even before I've unpacked it, people could potentially see it's available again on the website, and have like an out of stock notification thing on the website as well. So if someone's put for notifications, as soon as that gets delivered, it gets updated. They'll then get a notification it's in stock. So I may have even sold. It has happened actually where I've sold a few cards before I've even taken them out of the box, which is always nice. So that is an advantage that Fair has. Although there are some suppliers that actually will do like a Shopify sort of download. So once you've put your orders together, placed your order, you can download like a CSV, Excel file with your details in, and then you can then upload that to Shopify. So that will then, update your stock and stuff that way. So yeah, people are doing, some really good things, and I think it's always good from their point of view actually to have, full control over your, like orders and stuff. So I think, yeah. So I like to say I do like Fair. But yeah, I sort of use a balance of different, Fair and ordering direct.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's something I didn't realize, the whole Shopify thing. That's actually
It's
really
really good, and it's improved over time. It started off with, what did it start off with? I think it started off with just like the sort of updating the stock when you received it and stuff. But now even if I'm browsing on Fair and I'm on a product page for something that I already stock, it'll actually tell me just by the thing how many I've got in Shopify.
oh,
So you can,
okay.
and within Shopify, if you're on your product admin page, at the bottom, there's a thing that says, reordering. You can literally click a button from within Shopify, takes you to Fair and puts it in your basket there. So
Oh,
it's a great, because that's the thing. Often I'd sort of go, so what I do in terms of reordering is I'll look in Shopify, because that does my point of sale in the shop as well, so it's all the same stock, inventory. So I'll put it in like inventory order, so with the lowest first, see what I'm running low of or run out of, and then decide that's what I need to reorder from that particular supplier. But if I can do that within Fair, I can literally just go previously ordered things, see what's got low numbers, and go, oh, right, I'll get a top up of that. Because obviously sometimes there might be one or two things that I need, but in order to get it up to minimum, I'll see, well, which others are going to run out soon. Which is another thing Shopify is great at, sort of predicting and telling you, how much days you've got left and stuff of stock. So yeah, that's the main advantage of Fair, is that integration, really.
okay. And in terms of see new publishers reaching out to you, what's the best way for them to grab your attention?
I mean, I've like an initial email is great. The thing though with email is to obviously, I'm not going to like, oh, I get so many things every week. I mean, I do get a fair few, but not like, I'm not like snowed under or anything, but I do get quite a lot. And I like to be able to see, I open the email and see straight away what kind of thing you do. Obviously, put in a link to your Instagram, to your own website, to your Etsy, to Fair, whatever. So then go. But actually, even like, it sounds really lazy, but like, even clicking that can be a bit. So if there's an image, just I mean, do all that, but just attach a couple of. You don't even have to. I mean, if you've got a PDF catalog, great. Attach that, because then you sort of, I can browse it. But just a couple of images of your key sellers or your ones that show your style the best, so I can see straight away, what kind of thing. Because most people do say, it would be a great fit for your shop. Which sometimes I think, have you seen my shop? But that's generally with like larger ones and stuff. But yeah, so if you one tip actually, I'd say, if you do think it's a good fit, like say why. So I think it'd be a great fit because I see that you've got a lot of, like, I know, letterpress cards, or you've got a strong range of typography cards, or the illustrate. I notice the style of illustration that you stock is similar, to what I do, or I think mine would complement that. Or even if a particular publisher that I'm stocking, and that you're stocked alongside them in another shop, but why not say that? I'd notice you stock so and so. Many other retailers have stocked me alongside them, and they complement really well. So that's like a point. So yeah, sort of say why. If you can, I mean, samples in the post are great, but as we know, that's not it's not the cheapest thing to do, but it can be. Sometimes I find, if a lot of emails a good initial one, and say, if you'd like some samples, let me know, so you're not sort of wasting your samples just by sending them out. I mean, if you can afford to send them out, sort of cold as it were, then by all means. But yeah, the cost of postage aside, that's stuff that you could resell or send to someone who was more likely to like it. So yeah, that's but I do have a big box full of samples that are things that I probably won't stock. But so yeah, I think if you are going to send samples, like an approach via email first. And I do try and reply if I can, but I don't always reply. And sometimes like a follow up, or even if I don't reply, it sort of made me aware. So if I then know they're at a show or something, then I'll see them. Or a lot of the times I get emails from people that I'm aware of, like I've seen on Instagram, I might already follow. So it's just nice to hear from people directly. But yeah, I think email's fine, in the post if you can. And yeah, that's probably, the best ways. I mean, some people even, follow up phone. People are scared of using the phone, like actually, phoning up to follow up after you've sent samples or sent an email is actually, really nice, because then it's sort of, you get that instant, sort of conversation. Not many people do it as a first point of contact, but like I say, to sort of follow up, or if you've had a reply going, oh, sometimes I'll be, yeah, it's great, I really like your stuff. I'm not looking, this is me trying to be restrained again. I'm not looking to add at the moment, but keep in touch, and let me know. See, I'll follow your Instagram, and when I've got a gap, or when you know, when the time is right, it might be fit. Because if I could, I'd probably add like most people, and have like a massive, even bigger range of cards that don't fit in my shop. So yeah, it's sometimes it's not. Sometimes there are some people that I really really like and love to stock, but just realistically, there isn't the space in the range to to have them at the moment.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so thank you for that. Thank you. That was really interesting. I think we're going to sort of open the floor to questions, but
Okay.
before we do, I thought we'd do a quick fire round where I just
Okay.
ask you a few questions, and don't overthink it. Just sort of give me a one-word answer as well, please. Just
Okay.
give me
Right.
just a few questions, just for fun.
Okay.
So,
I remember fun. Yes.
so one word to describe your perfect customer.
uh,
That's just too long. Come
um, in
on.
uh, passionate.
Passionate. Art file or early bird?
Early bird. I
Top
love
drawer.
Art File though. They have some fantastic stuff,
One
and they
word,
bought
one
some
word, one
jumpers.
word.
What? Okay.
Top drawer PG.
PG.
I don't know if Jackie's on watching this.
No, I didn't just say it because Jackie might be here. No, no, it's yeah, but Top Drawer is great because it has more stuff. But for cards, like PG, hands down, every time.
Okay. Christmas or Halloween?
Oh, Christmas. What's Halloween? Not my thing.
Water, Waterstones or Oliver Bonus?
But, Waterstones, because Oliver Bonus is 2 words. No, I love them. Again, I love them, but yeah, no, Waterstones for a browse and a look at nice books and things. But yeah, Oliver Bonus, like overall, they're probably actually closest to the kind of card range. They have very similar kind of range of cards to me. So it's always nice to go and see what they've got.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's it. I've had enough. I'll let you off now. Um,
Thanks.
do you have any questions for me before we open the floor?
Are you enjoying your choose cards Christmas job? No.
I am loving this, by the way. And
Excellent.
how can someone purchase this jumper?
Well, thanks for asking. You can go to choosecards.co.uk or you can find it on my the letter. It's actually on the Letter Arty website, but if you go to choosecards.co.uk, it's easier because you can just click and get it. And you could even get a bag to carry it around in. But anyway, enough of that. It's not why we're here.
No,
Apparently,
not
but
here.
yes, I have got. So thank you to everyone who did contribute to the crowdfunder and stuff. So I got them made, but that means I've got a shelf full of in stock ones. So and Christmas jumper day coming up 11th of December. So there you go.
Great. Okay, so can you see Matt the Q&A
I
box?
can't. No,
Oh,
I don't
okay,
know
fine.
whether.
That means I've got to control it. And if
Oh,
anyone
hang on. Yes, I
wants,
can. Sorry, it's here. I
okay.
can click on it. I'll need to get my.
And if anyone else wants to, you can either pop a question in the Q&A or just raise your hands if you want to
Right.
answer any questions.
Yeah. So if I click answer live, does that mean I just answer? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So right, Mira from Rainy. Where do you sell most of your cards, online or in the shop itself? It's online for me, mainly because, as I sort of mentioned earlier, the shop was not accidental, but it was sort of like a side effect of moving premises that I had the shop. So yeah, it is mostly online by sort of quite a margin at the moment. So yeah, that was a nice simple one that I made complicated. And Lydia Evans, how soon after the first email or mail out would one make a follow-up call? 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, 2 weeks is quite a good one. I often have sort of emails sat at the top of my inbox. I'll read them and go, oh, I must respond to that. So I mark it as unread. It sits at the top. And then like a week later, I go, oh, I haven't replied to that. So yeah, like probably, yeah, a couple of weeks would be, yeah, a week or two. It depends on time of year as well. Something else that's quite important. Obviously, I've mentioned I do a lot buying at shows and stuff. So, sort of an approach just after there's been a show probably isn't the best time because I've probably all spent all my pocket money. But also, it's like if I've just seen lots, so sort of timing it. So it's sort of like, oh, if you're not at the shows, which obviously I understand a lot of people aren't because they're very expensive things to do. But, sort of a period after or before those kind of key events would be yeah, would be useful. But yeah, like I think if you sent an email, like certainly, yeah, 2 weeks is a great sort of timescale, really.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Oh, there's another one.
Oh, one thing that stands out for me with cards, it varies really, Mira. So I like obviously sort of like really good design, or someone that's really thought about like the stock or finishes and stuff. So if obviously anyway, you can get cards printed anywhere and on anything. But yeah, if you can tell that someone's really kind of taken the time to choose a stock that complements, or say for example with foiling, there's certain suppliers who use like coloured foil, and I know for a fact they've been through loads of iterations to just get that right, shade and stuff. So knowing that like a lot of thought has gone into that, and I think that's where actually stocking cards rather than the sort of print on demand stuff, which again is fantastic, like Thoughtful are doing great stuff, like Scribbler do, they're in-house in shop kiosks and stuff. I'm steaming up. But they tend to all be on like the same stock. So actually I think that's something where you can stand out, and it's one of the reasons that having a physical shop is great, because people can actually see the quality and what's it. So yeah, if you've really thought about the stock and print finishes, and even things like the envelope, if you've got an envelope that I could buy down Ryman's, then it's not, I mean, it doesn't take away from the card, but it really, you notice the difference. Or if you got a shade, like got like a coloured card that envelope that really complements and stuff. So probably it's things like physical finishes and stock and stuff. So there we go. Oh, they're coming in thick and fast now. I
And
can't
also,
cope.
if anyone wants, you can put your hand up as well. We'd love to see you.
Yeah, don't be shy, everyone. Although I have seen most of you before, so we'd love to see you again. But Ebony, what do you find does better, a captioned card or more of an open send in your shop? Do you mean like, as in, has it? I don't actually know
I
what that
think she
means.
means like happy birthday or like, like occasion specific or
Oh,
like
right. Sorry. Yes.
open.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't have many. Do want to expand like the sort of blank card as I go. Oh, right. Relatives like mum and dad, Ebony. I don't really. I have some relative ones at Christmas, but I generally don't have like birth. I've got a couple of like wife and husband specific anniversary ones, but generally I don't. Mainly because it's like where do you stop? Like, you've got nan or you've got son-in-law or you've got daughter-in-law and you've got all these sort of various connotations which obviously just take up space on, because I don't sell massive volumes of anything really. That's just more that are going to take longer to sell. But like I say, I do them. There are some publishers that never used to do them that have started doing them at Christmas particularly. So I sort of taken a few and they do quite well. So I do some like key ones, like I've got some husband, wife, mum, dad, both of you, sort of fairly sort of not too many different ones, but I do have some for Christmas. But generally, I don't. It's not. I prefer to have non-specific ones. Lisa, hello, Lisa. How much does the price of the card affect your decision? ED, oh dear, can offer much lower price because of their volumes. I mean, they're only 30p less than your cards, Lisa. Is it? No, or yours three? No, in fact, the ones they're only like 5p, I think. I think the oh dear ones that I do stock are like 2.95, I think. But most of the cards I have are sort of 3.50. I have some that are sort of three up to some letterpress ones actually are up to like 4.75. But yeah, it doesn't. No, price doesn't really affect me personally. Because I like to, as you know, I like the sort of, it's all about the cards I mentioned before, like the quality of the card. And yeah, you can get some cards that, in fact, at GCA conference, one of the things that was mentioned was the average price of a card. A greeting card is now 189, I think it was, wasn't it? It's gone up from 185 to 189 or something
Yeah.
like that. But I don't have anything. But I've got some mini cards that are 195. I think that's about as the lowest price that I go. So yeah, it's not really something that I take into consideration. But I mean, obviously, like wholesale price is something I take into consideration. The margins need to be correct and stuff. But other than that, yeah, it's not something that I, yeah, really take into too much consideration. That's done. Oh, Mira, what's the best thing about the greeting card industry, in my opinion? You lot, everyone. It's great. Like, it's really friendly. And I sort of found I got sort of, I was operating not quite, incognito for a while, but before I started doing in-person reels and stuff, I was just another sort of retailer all online. And I was sort of, knew a few people at shows and would chat to them and stuff. But once I started to, get a bit more involved and speak to people and meet more people, it really kind of makes you feel supported. And it's definitely, I think Adrian will probably agree, like the people, most of them, are like a fantastic reason, and it's a really genuinely friendly industry. And even though technically everyone's competing, publishers, competing against each other, and even like retailers, we're sort of competing, obviously being different parts of the country, some will be online, some won't. But everyone is, just really supportive and helpful and generally quite friendly because we're spreading joy, aren't we? So why wouldn't we be? Da, da, da. Oh, they're racing in now. Busiest time of the year. Well, now quarter four is always, a good one. I probably numbers wise, it's probably about uh, 30-40%, I'd say,
Mm.
in terms of revenue is like October to December. But yeah, I mean, beginning of the year, sort of January, like into Valentine's Day and stuff. So sort of January, February, March, pretty good. And then you've got, Father's Day. But after that, summer's definitely quite quiet, which is when I look to try and push other things other than cards. But yeah, definitely quarter four. Felicity. Hi there. What advice would you give a publisher if you have reached out via email and phone but haven't received a response? Slag me off on Instagram because I'm rude. But no. I mean, if you haven't received a response, I'd say it's not necessarily because the retailer doesn't like or doesn't want to respond or doesn't like what you do. It's just, it is busy and
Yeah.
things do get, fall down your inbox. And, I would say if you reach out via email, maybe like a few months later, or if you've got key points. So if you're about to launch your Christmas stuff, or if you've got some new stuff, just say hi. I've reached out before. Just thought you might like to know. Now I've got this. That kind of thing. So it varies obviously because we're all human. We're all different. All us retailers. Some might be more responsive than others. But yeah, like yeah, don't give up necessarily unless they've specifically said, no, I'm never going to stock your cards, which hope that, hopefully they'd say it a bit more polite than that. But yeah, I mean, I've had people, email me and then email me months later or email me to say, oh, I'm going to be at the show or I'm doing this event or whatever. And then I've sort of ended up, it takes time. There's some people I've had my eye on, as it were, professionally, of course, for like, a year or two and then started stocking them. So yeah, I just think, yeah, sort of more, not like don't pester, but, sort of after a few months, maybe try again. Or when you have the thing, oh,
And
Lisa,
there's
wholesale
so
price.
many, yeah,
Oh,
and there's so many people, like more publishers in the industry than there was, say, 5 years ago.
oh yeah,
So
yeah,
you've got everyone's approaching, the retailers. So it must be quite like overwhelming to kind of just filter it all through. Like you said, you've probably like a lot of people, but it's just a lot. You're trying to run a business as well, and it's just a lot. So I think
yeah,
patience is key. I think from what I've gathered, generally it just takes longer for retailers to respond because there's so many to choose from now, and
yeah.
it's just a lot of choice.
No, it is. Yeah, it is. It is tricky, but yeah, like I say, don't no response isn't necessarily a no. Oh, Leeds did mean the wholesale price. Yeah, I mean, as long as I mean, margins generally tend to be the same with cards. So, it's that the wholesale price times it by 2.4, and that's your RRP, including the VAT. So there isn't really. I mean, sometimes particularly if people are new, or if they're like doing really small batch stuff, then the margin will be lower. And I have in the past taken on ones that I really, really like, that, don't quite meet that margin criteria. But I tend to find that it gets quite difficult, particularly if in terms of online, if I'm like doing the postage and stuff, although I do charge over a certain amount, I don't charge for postage. So it's sort of that balance. So yeah, I mean, generally they're all kind of the same. I've never been put off someone by the wholesale price, which actually leads on to Mira's next question quite well, which is, do you take on board the publisher's RRP or do you decide based on your current stock and best price points? Generally, like I say, most RRPs are based on that, 2.4 markup. So they're there or thereabouts, give or take a few pence. I will occasionally go slightly lower. There's a thing with online with Google shopping ads where if someone's selling a card like slightly cheaper, they're probably going to get more traction than you. So I have occasionally, but only like 5-10p, like not, we're not talking Google shopping ads has got this great thing now. They'll automatically adjust your prices if you like. I'm like, no, no, thanks. Because they'll go, obviously you'll sell more if it's lower. Yes, but I won't make any money. So yeah, I mean, RRPs generally are the same, but are the same. But yeah, I'll usually stick to that. And if I do, discount, it will only be, by like 5-10p or something. Da, da, da. Another one from Lisa. Would you buy a card stock because you like the design, even if it didn't have a fancy finish? Like, yeah, of course. I mean, I've got lots of cards that aren't, don't have like foil or spot UV or embossing or die cut or whatever. I've got a lot of really nice cards like yours, Lisa. In fact, Lisa Stoats and Weasels, by the way, everyone who doesn't know. But yeah, just like on a like on a nice. I mean, I have sometimes even bought cards where I'm not like a massive like this. I would have chosen a different stock or something, but because the designs are so good, and they sell, then I'll still do that. So yeah, you don't have to be letterpress with lots of foil and die cut and stuff to get in my shop. That's yeah, no, it's all about it's like the overall thing. Does it work? Some things don't need embellishments, if you like. And in fact, some of the samples I get from big like wholesalers and stuff have loads of sparkly things and stuff on that. Yeah, no, I really wouldn't stock those. So, it doesn't. Yeah, it's not a requirement. Uh, Small not no, anonymous attendee. It doesn't put me off if a small publisher isn't VAT registered, because it can be like, right, it's one more thing to do. It's more numbers to, it can be advantageous to be VAT registered, even if you don't meet the threshold. But that's something for you and your accountant, if you have one. But no, as long as the wholesale price takes into account that the retailer will be charging VAT. So, so obviously, as far as you're concerned, say for example, obviously not cards, but if something you're selling, if your RP is 10 pounds and you like go, right, well, they need to, so I'll charge £5 for wholesale. Myself as a retailer, in order to get that margin, I'd need to be charging £12, which includes the VAT on that one. So I think for an RRP of £10, including the VAT, the wholesale price would need to be, I think it's £4.33 or something on those lines. So even if you're not VAT registered, if you and obviously margins are tricky anyway, but ideally you want to be able to charge as if you are, because the retailer is going to have to be taking VAT out of that RRP, thus reducing the money that they get from it. So there's some good. Yeah, there is some stuff online actually. If you search about VAT margins and stuff, there's some things that yeah, you can do. I mean, basically, with like cards and stuff, it's 2.4 times your wholesale price should be the RRP. So that takes into account the VAT. So I hope that answered that one.
And you can't charge VAT unless you're VAT registered. That's happened a few times when people.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's happened just as.
Yeah, no, in fact,
Yeah.
I was, years ago, some other business that I worked with a friend, we were at one of these, I think a NatWest incubator thing with these other people, and this guy was talking about VAT. He goes, yes, because I've been, adding VAT on the thing. I was like, oh, you're VAT registered? No. Oh, okay. You might need to speak to someone about that then. But yeah, no, don't charge VAT if you're not VAT registered. Yeah, definitely don't do that. Hello, have you seen this? Eamon O'Neill. Hello, have you seen any shifts in what your customers are buying year on year? What do you think makes an evergreen card? There are some things some cards I've sold like the whole time. There's a card by Kinship which is called like Scandi type Happy Birthday one, which is really simple, sort of type, sort of late, Happy Birthday with the letters all sort of all over the place and stuff. That I've sold like for years. That sells. Cats, actually, cats sell really well. My best-selling card is one called Cuddle Time Cats from Penguin Ink, which is a lovely, yeah, you know the
I
one.
know that one, yeah.
In fact, I think it was one of Lizzie's first ones actually.
Yeah.
But and in fact, it's the same for all her, retailers. I mean, as I mentioned, I don't sell huge volumes, so I'll usually, if I'm taking on new cards, I usually just get sixes and see how they go. I mean, for me, like if something's doing really well, I might get 18, 24, maybe 30 if I'm feeling flash. But that one, I get sort of 96 or over 100 a time, and that lasts me like a couple of months, 2 or 3 months. So it's difficult to say what makes a good evergreen card, but I think as long as it's not too like trend led, for me, it's about like just a good quality card and a concept that just works and isn't like, overly complicated. So yeah, I mean, that's probably not very helpful, but yeah, I think, yeah, not being sort of trend, led. And yeah, sometimes it's difficult to tell. I have had cards that, I've taken on because it sort of complements the range that I'm taking on. And, and then the ones that I wasn't expecting will actually take off, and the ones that I thought didn't. Or what has actually happened a couple of times, because some of my lovely suppliers, they'll sometimes, in with an order, they'll just go, oh, I thought you might like to try these. So they'll put in a few of those, or it might be a show offer, and they'll put in some that they've selected, and they actually do so much better than the ones I chose, which is really good. In fact, Lisa, that happened with the ones you selected for me. So yeah, but yeah, so it's you can't necessarily always tell, but yeah, try not to be too sort of trend led. Just a good quality card that has a simple message, and that will usually be the one that that sells consistently. Advantage of working with small indie publishers versus bigger ones. I mean, yeah, I mean, the advantages I think is you're more likely to get stuff that other people aren't selling, or you might get to it first, because with pardon me, with the sort of it can be, as well, Adriana and lots of you watching will know, it can take, you have to jump through quite a few hoops to get stocked with like the bigger, the bigger names. So it can just naturally, it will take longer for those people to be in the big brand, to be more kind of widespread and better known. So there is that. Also, small indie publishers, you're often dealing with the person that actually made, actually designed the card, and you can actually talk to them. I love like finding, there's a story behind a card or a range or a design, and having those stories is great. And you actually, you are dealing with the person that created those, not just someone who's like, no, not there's wrong with like salespeople, but it's just nice to, and those individual relationships, are really really nice. So it's not necessarily a business advantage, but it's just nice, which, nice is an advantage, I guess. But building those relationships with individuals, as I say to people, in the shop, it's like, oh, actually, I've met nearly all of the people whose cards are supplied here. I've met them and I know them, and I might tell them a fact about them even if they don't ask. But oh, they're based in Bristol. Lots of my suppliers are based in Bristol, weirdly. But yeah, so it's good to have that relationship and the sort of backstory, if you like. So hopefully that's helped you there, Eamon. Felicity, out of interest, how do you prefer to view a wholesale catalogue? Flip book, a standard PDF book? Personally, I prefer a standard PDF. Like flip books are fun and all, but I'm fully aware it's on the screen, so it doesn't need to pretend to be like a book. But no, they're nice as sort of standalone things, and they can be a good way to do it. And some people prefer it. I just like, because I'm impatient, and I sometimes like a PDF and just like whiz through it and go, oh, that's nice, and sort of stop at that rather than sort of, it depends how much time. Sometimes actually I like, so I've got like the two screens set up at the back of the shop. And so if I've got like a magazine or something on that, I'll put that on the larger screen and sort of, flip through it while I'm having a coffee or my lunch and stuff. So it can be quite nice, but equally a PDF is just as good. So personally, I prefer a PDF just because it's simple, like me. And yeah, so but I mean, either or really, it doesn't, it doesn't. But the good thing about PDF, obviously, is I think you can download those flippy things, but PDF, you can just literally download it and browse it whenever you get. And also, particularly, you can browse a PDF either on your phone than a flip thing, because then things get quite small. So yeah, PDF for me. I think anyone else?
I think we're done.
I think we are. 19 answered questions, apparently.
Wow.
Wow, I feel like
Well
I'm a
done.
mastermind. Well,
You did really well. No, it was really good.
thank you. Obviously, anyone, if you want to, I'm always on sort of Instagram and stuff. So if anyone did ever want to ask me, I'm quite approachable. Like I say, I do try and reply where I can. If I don't, it's not because I don't like you, it's just because I forgot or I'm busy. But if you follow my Instagram, which is the Letter Arty Shop, then yeah, feel free to always DM me on there if you're not sure. But like I say, I'm quite new to this shop thing, so I'm not an expert. But I have spoken to people who've been doing it a lot longer, and I do pick up things from them. So hopefully I'll be able to answer questions if you need them.
Yeah, no, your Instagram is really good fun. I mean, your reels are fantastic. Like they're all I don't know how many takes it gets to do them, but they are actually really
Well, I
good.
try not to. I used to get a bit pressure, but the thing I'd say about that is just do it and just post it, because no one cares. The one that you spend loads of time on and do, like, time the edits and stuff like that, and and think, oh, this is really clever. Like, no one will care and it won't get any views. But if you do just one really quickly, where you do something silly, and then that potentially might, so the thing is that, and for years I was like, well, I don't want to be in front of the camera because no one wants, this popping up on their Instagram and stuff. And then I just did one. It was off the back of something. Sarah at Pencil Me In did, actually. She did one. I was like, oh, that's really funny. You should. And she's like, oh, now it's your turn. So I was like, oh, okay then. So then I sort of appeared, and the world didn't end. So okay, but it's different. I don't have like a content plan. Sometimes I think of ideas and then go, oh, I might do that one day. Which is how Choose Cards came about actually, because that was I got a one t-shirt for a reel, but I realized we're running out of time. So, if you have got any questions, you can place it in the comments box when you order your Christmas jump. No. But yeah, so it's just kind of, yeah. And I don't have like a plan, like I must do this next week. And sometimes it will go, a few weeks and I have, oh, thanks, Ebony. She said it's been wonderful. But yeah, so and it might go a while, before I get chance or before. Sometimes I think I don't like to do stuff for the sake of it. There needs to be a reason. Yeah, but yeah, I think with like social media and stuff, again, not an expert, but just do stuff. No, you can always delete it. And yeah, and thank you, Felicity and Mir, thank you too. It's been fun.
Do you, I mean, obviously, my last question. So, do you use social media to find potential?
Yeah, no, I do actually. I do see stuff, or someone might often, obviously, again, this is an indication of the industry being supportive. One supplier might go, oh, they'll repost one of their, friends' stuff, or I'm like, oh, I'll keep an eye on that, or just follow and see, what they're doing. And like I say, yeah, I could be like, following someone for years before I approach them, which sounds great. Don't take that out of context. But yeah, so it's great to see. I love like so I've got like a personal Instagram, and I've got like the Letter Arty one, and actually the letter just full of like creativity and great things, and it's a really good. Yeah, I do sometimes find, like I say, if I see people on fair, and I'll just go and find their Instagram and see what else they're doing and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely what was the question? Sorry.
It was, do you use Instagram to
Oh yes,
find?
yeah, to find me, yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
yeah. And there's some people that I stock now that I've sort of first saw on Instagram, and in fact, to me, sometimes that's because Instagram is kind of constant and changing, and you're always putting new stuff on it. That can be like including that in your approach email can actually sometimes be even better than your catalog or whatever. But yeah, if you are going to include your Instagram, make sure you've posted something recently. Like if I go to Instagram and see they haven't done anything for like 12 months, I'm like, are they still trading? My money safe? That kind of thing. So yeah.
All right, great. And you'll be at Top Drawer
I
and
will.
yeah.
Because I wasn't able to make September. So in a bout of FOMO, I booked my hotel straight away and got quite a bargain, to be fair. So yes, I will be at Top Drawer.
Okay.
I may or may not wear a Choose Cards t-shirt. I might start wearing other things to shows because people might get bored of it, and I've got nothing to sell particularly in January. So maybe some reduced jumpers. No, I'm not reducing them. I'll just sell them again next year.
Thank you so much, Matt,
No
for
worries.
joining
Thank
me
you everyone for
today.
coming along.
Thanks,
I don't know how
everyone.
many or who you are, but most of you. But thank you. I hope it's been useful. And like I say, feel free to drop me a line on Instagram anytime.